What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to take a side-by-side look at the all-new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer alongside its mini version, which is the all-new Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Huge shout out and thank you to Benson, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram for providing both of these all-new Jeeps for today's video. Check them out. I'll have their website linked below. So the two models we're looking at today are both pretty loaded. We have an Overland version over here for the Grand Cherokee L, so it's pretty fully loaded, air ride suspension and everything, and we even have the optional 5.7 liter 8-cylinder engine. This is a Series 3 Wagoneer. This Wagoneer comes in just under $100,000, while the Grand Cherokee L is right at $66,000. And if you want to see a full test drive between these two vehicles, both videos will be linked down below. So let's first start off with all the styling. Up front, they both have the similar grills, traditional for Jeep. You can see these 7 bars in them. You're also going to see that over on the Grand Cherokee L. We have Wagoneer written out on this one, which I think is a really cool touch for the Wagoneer. And then on the Grand Cherokee L, it just says Jeep like your typical Jeep would. Both vehicles have LED headlights that are sunken into the front end design. They look really clean and they give these vehicles a modern design. I love how the Wagoneer has this brushed aluminum trim going across the entire front end, wrapping around the headlights and then meeting back up underneath the grille. The Grand Cherokee L only has it on the lower side and it's finished off in a chrome. Down below, each of them have a nice lower grille with your parking sensors, safety sensors if optioned, and then they both have the chrome trim down below, which looks really cool, just adding to that style. We also get the chrome lower bumper on the Wagoneer. As far as the overall front end design, you can tell the Wagoneer is way bigger looking. Right now I have the Wagoneer's suspension all the way up, while the Grand Cherokee L suspension is all the way down. If I go ahead and flip-flop the vehicles, you can see the Grand Cherokee raise up into the off-road setting, while the Wagoneer is going to lower into the lowest mode. So really cool to see how that can work with both of these vehicles. And then now with the Grand Cherokee L all the way raised up and the Wagoneer lower, they almost look similar in size, but as we're going to find out today, they are much different. But it is definitely sweet to see the suspension options for each of these vehicles. If we go ahead and move to the side profile, you can tell they are both Jeeps. They have a lot of similarities. I love the style of both of them. I think the new generation Jeep for these luxury versions is really killing it. Both of them, you're going to notice this chrome trim going all the way over the roofline, and then it makes its way into the rear, going around this rear piece of glass. Moving to the Wagoneer, you can see how it's similar, however it's a little bit more squared off and boxy and has a separate piece of chrome trim in the rear section. So I like the differences. I think they both look super clean. You can see how squared off the back end is, and then how large the rear windows are comparing it to the Grand Cherokee. Much sleeker lines on the Wagoneer, a little bit more sharp lines on the Grand Cherokee. And then looking at the rear, I love how both of them also have similar taillights. You'll see they're both kind of sunken in like we saw on the headlights to give it that sleek, understated design. And then both of them have some chrome trim in the lower portion. You do get nice looking exhaust tip surrounds for the Grand Cherokee, while the Wagoneer is just kind of hidden underneath the bumper. So let's check out the interior now of the Grand Cherokee. This is the all new generation. Of course you can get different colors and combinations of things like that, but we do get a really nice satin look on this wood grain trim, leather along the steering wheel. It's even on the dashboard being an Overland trim. More of the wood, HD digital display for the gauge cluster, and you'll see a really nice large screen right in the center. If I go ahead and fire this one up, you can see how everything looks. We have controls up top, really good look, wood trim and everything along the door panel and the leather, and then everything on these seats. We have piano black along the center, drive modes, air suspension toggle over here. We can open this up for a little bit of storage, wireless phone charging. We have more storage here. Really good look overall. The screens are going to be similar the way all the controls look, of course, but definitely a good looking interior. And then onto the Wagoneer, we do get a set of deployable running boards that come out, and they are huge. You can fit your foot on them for a nice grip. The door panel is kind of similar with a similar wood, however it's glossy, a little bit different accents as you can see. The steering wheel is much different, being a 2-spoke. You can see the resemblance, however this just feels like a more grand version. We still get the same kind of leather and everything on the dash, all of this piano black and wood trim accent. A few extra controls on this one. Very similar down here with the drivetrain, all your modes, and then the suspension mode as well. So you can see the similarities, of course, that's pretty much the same, and you can have the same screen with all the different icons that will come up. The center console is a little bit different with these two armrests. You have storage right here, which is really cool with all the glossy wood. Opening this up, we have a ton more storage space, and then more of the wood trim, less of the piano black for your cup holders. So you can tell there's a lot of similarities, you know, very similar the way the entire center is laid out. So now let's take a look at the rear seat space, because if you're buying these two vehicles, obviously you probably have kids or you're putting people in the back. That's where these two really differ. Obviously the exterior sizing is pretty different, price is pretty different as well, but back here, so the Grand Cherokee L, this is the first time it's had a full third row in it. The normal Grand Cherokee never had that. So it's cool that at least for this generation they are throwing that in. The new Grand Cherokee won't have it, but the L does. But nonetheless, this one is pretty roomy back here. We have captain's chairs in this Overland. You have a manual lever right here to recline it, and then you have your armrest over on this inside. So it's a pretty comfortable interior here. We do get air vents, climate controls, heated seats, cup holder storage, USB ports, and more storage. So you do get all the amenities that you're gonna want in the back. You even have manual sunshades on the left and the right side for these windows, the wood trim. I mean, you have a lot of amenities in this vehicle. Along with that, the way the second row operates, if you pull that recline lever, it'll go all the way down, fold the headrest, and you can stow these nice and flat. To get them out of the way, to actually gain access to the third row, there's a lever right here you're gonna pull, and the whole seat comes up and forward and gets completely out of the way. I like how that is, and I can easily climb into the back. So just climbing in here, you can see me sitting in the back very well. It's a little cramped in here. I'm 5'11", obviously not the biggest person ever. My knees are kind of up and down, pretty straight up, but I still have some room behind this seat. Even if it were reclined a little bit, I still do have room. Headroom, I have about an inch or so. So you can tell it's a little cramped. It's not legit designed to be a full third row, but you do have that space. Another really cool thing, you have one-touch buttons on this left side. If I just touch this button once, it's gonna automatically fold down, do the headrest and everything. A lot of vehicles like this, you have to hold the button. So that's a pretty convenient feature. Of course, there's one for this one as well. But that is the third row, not bad at all. It's very usable even for full-grown people. So I think they did capitalize on the space in this to make it usable. So with that said, let's hop into the Wagoneer now. You're gonna notice this is a much bigger SUV. This is more on par with an Expedition or a Yukon or something like that. So we still have the black leather seating, manual control for the recline, the captain's chairs, headrest moves up and down. So this one a little bit different. We have the same lever here to fold these down nice and flat. With them back up, you have a button on top rather than a lever. Just pressing that once, it automatically gets out of the way. Might have to push it up a little bit, but it kind of does the same function. So putting this back into the normal position, we can slide this forwards and back just like we saw on the other seat and recline it. But then when you climb in the back of a Wagoneer, already this is a lot bigger. I have a TV screen in front of me. You still get climate control vents, heated seats, all of the controls, cup holder storage, USB ports, storage here, air vents on the door, speakers on the door. So it has pretty much all the amenities, same sunroof and everything. But you will notice it's a little bit wider in here. The spot in the center where there's no seat, you can opt for a center seat, has a lot of space. So you can tell this is much larger. So if you're really having like car seats in here, you know, working on them, this is gonna be a bigger vehicle. Third row seat has 3 seats back here instead of just 2, and it's much easier to enter the third row through the center versus the side. But while we're in here, I'll just press that button and get the seat out of the way. You can still see we have so much space in here. You also have the same power control buttons on this side fender. If you just press it once, this seat is gonna automatically come all the way down. I like how they are one-touch buttons. You don't have to worry about wasting your time holding down the button. But when we sit in the third row, this is where it gets a lot bigger. We have the same headrests that pop up. In here, we even have power controls to recline these. So you can tell this is designed 100% to be a third row vehicle rather than just the addition. So this is pretty cool. Another cool feature is this sunroof. You have a full panel of glass above you, and these windows are huge. So this is a nice place to be. Again, I'm sitting back here reclined now, and I'm very comfortable. My legs are nicely comfortable instead of being up higher. So that's the biggest difference you're gonna notice. That third row is crazy, and I can step out of here like nothing. Of course, the side running boards as well. On to the last thing is the rear cargo space. They both are gonna have a power liftgate, of course, for the price point. So this one with one seat up and down, you get a pretty good amount of space in here. It's maybe like 2 feet in length. So it's usable even if the third row is in use. You could probably fit 3 or 4 backpacks in here. So if you have your 4 kids in the back, I think all our backpacks are gonna fit. You also have power controls back here for the second and third row. This is really cool, one touch. This is gonna automatically go down and get right out of the way. And then one touch for the second row, it's gonna flip all the way down nice and flat. Now there's no movement from there, you can't get that seat back up. So some of them are gonna be manual control, but you get a lot of space in here for sure. Onto the Wagoneer, already it's a much wider vehicle back here. We already saw in the second row and third row how much wider it was. So opening this by pressing the button, it's gonna automatically open up as you would expect. We have a little bit more space. It's a little bit wider, so you could probably fit luggage in here. And if you do opt this for the bench seat in the center, you can have 6 people in the back. And I think you could have 6 kids' backpacks in here. So it's equally bigger as you'd expect. On the side, you also have all these one-touch buttons. Just one touch, you can automatically get these seats out of the way. It's gonna rotate forward and get out of the way. The headrest will even fold down if it is up. And then same for the second rows, one touch. They flip forward down like that. So it's nice how much space you have. This one is clearly bigger. It's like a mile of space in here comparing it to the other vehicle. It's definitely wider and longer, so that is a cool touch. Just like the Grand Cherokee, the second rows are gonna be manual to get them back up, but the third row, you just press them once and they're gonna come all the way back up, which is really cool to see. And then both cars on the side, you press the button and the tailgates are gonna close. So that's kind of the interior sizing. It's noticeably a bigger vehicle. This is pretty much a mini-me version of the Wagoneer. So there's a good look side by side with the all new generation Jeep Grand Cherokee L, the first ever third row version, alongside its big brother, the new full-size SUV, the Wagoneer. They are really nice SUVs overall. I like them both. I drove them both today. We have some reviews of them. I think overall, if you're looking for that jumbo SUV, this is something to look at. Before, it's always been the Expedition or a Suburban or Tahoe or something like that. Now, Chrysler Group is now in the game with something super cool and super big. That is a pretty sweet vehicle, a bigger version of that one for sure. I think that's everything, just a quick look at them side by side and kind of showing the sizing. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content to come. And then once again, huge shout out and thank you to Benson Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram for providing both of these sweet Jeeps for today's video. Definitely check them out. So that's it guys, I'll see you in the next video.